Hi guys, and welcome to the Average Pundits podcast, where we talk all things Premier League. First of all, I would like to say thank you for all the support. We're in week 2 now. The first week was hit with so much love and support and feedback that we're going to take forward, constantly improve the podcast, and hopefully make it easier for you guys to listen and enjoy when you're sitting at home, lounging, or at work listening to this. So first of all, from me and from Joe, we'd like to say thank you very much. So yeah, I am Reese.
Yeah, and I am Joe. And yeah, again, we're just looking forward to getting more into this, I think.
Exactly. So Joe, would you like to hit me with this week's Week 7 in the Premier League's results?
First thing I think I'll start with, mate, Liverpool's 1-0 scrape over Sheffield.
Yes, indeed.
And I use the word scrape.
It was a scrape. Indeed.
It's a weird game.
Indeed. Liverpool, should they have won? That's a thing. Looking at the stats of the game,
yeah,
we dominated possession. We had 70% of possession.
Had far more passes, registering around 708 passes.
However, the shots ratio is less dominant from us. We had 70% of the possession, 16 shots, but Sheffield United must have hit us on the counter attack so many times.
Yeah,
and they could have scored much time. We
were only saying last week the newly promoted clubs in the Prem, they're holding their own at the moment, and Sheffield are no exception.
We had a goal in the 70th minute, but it was a mistake from Dean Henderson, the goalkeeper. Yeah. It came under his legs, and he just couldn't stop. Obviously, the raw power of Gini Wijnaldum's shot.
I mean, you saw how disappointed Henderson was. I mean, it's a shame. He's
Absolutely
a great keeper. Obviously, on loan from Manchester United, great keeper. I think at some point probably be looking to secure that second position at United. I mean, getting in front of De Gea is going to be a tough job. It
always is, unless they make room unless De Gea obviously sees the opportunity to move on in his career and go to a team like Real Madrid. Man of the match of this, Virgil van Dijk, obviously keeping a clean sheet.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah.
He's any game he's in, he dominates. It's rare that a player will dribble past him during a game, and he shows his 70+ million worth.
He's still showing it week in and week out.
Yeah.
Moving on from that, Crystal Palace Norwich. So that was a 2-0 win again from Palace, and they've been in a really run of good form at the moment.
Indeed.
Palace.
Crystal Palace, they carry on their unbeaten run.
Yeah.
Which obviously, it's big for Crystal Palace, especially with Aaron Wan-Bissaka leaving, and also rumours of Wilfried Zaha being unhappy and wanting to take the next step up to further his career. I mean, he's hitting that point where he's about to hit his peak.
Yeah.
So he needs to move on from a club like Crystal Palace, unless he is willing to drag this team,
stay and become that kind of club
and become
hero,
the Leicester of the league that they won. So obviously Milivojevic with the goal on the 21st
penalty.
It was a very nice penalty as well.
Yeah.
Stick it right in the top corner.
Well taken.
And then Andros Townsend in the late dying minutes of the game.
Just putting the game to bed, really.
It was a nice strike, and obviously the man of the match being Milivojevic.
Yeah.
So
still a good player, Townsend. I mean, on his day, he can come in, he can get a job done.
Absolutely, yes. He is. He's a very quick player. He's got a very good shot. I think he's forgotten amongst this Crystal Palace team sometimes, but there are a few games where he really does show his worth.
Yeah, definitely. So moving on to Aston Villa Burnley, another claret and blue derby.
Yes, indeed. The two teams that got me confused last week.
Again, yeah. A 2-2 draw against two clubs, again, which have been drifting in and out of pretty good form.
Yes. Obviously, you've got John McGinn, who continues to score and continues to keep up his form.
Yeah.
And also, Chris Wood. He continues to rise his stock as well. El Ghazi also getting that really nice finishing touch on that first goal.
Ending with Villa being the more dominant side in terms of possession.
Yes, they did. They dominated the game a bit more. But Burnley, obviously, in the build-up to their first goal, they had I think it looked like what they were Villa were trying to draw a foul and get a free kick, but obviously that wasn't enough to sway the referee, and Rodriguez got the header. So. And then Chris Wood coming at the end to save Burnley and draw a point from Villa.
It's good to see. I mean, it's been hard to deny. I mean, there have been some really good games early on in the Premier League. Hopefully, I mean, this season's going to be a bit of a few twists and turns later down the line. Going to another 2-2 draw, you've got Bournemouth and West Ham.
Yes, Bournemouth and West Ham. They both of these teams have also come into a bit of form, haven't they?
Yeah, both of them.
Bournemouth being in 8th place right now, and also West Ham being in 5th. They must think that they can push on in this table. Yarmolenko coming in early and scoring the finesse with his left foot.
Continuing that form again. Obviously had the goal against Man United the week before, and then same with Aaron Cresswell again. Same goal scorers.
These two have been firing on all cylinders for West Ham, and hopefully they can keep this going, along with players like Allaire and Fredericks, Declan Rice,
and on the other
Fornals.
On the other side, over at Bournemouth, you had goal scorers in Josh King in the 17th, and then Wilson just after the half time. What I would say, I mean, with Josh King, I mean, an ex-United player again, really good to see him continuing, good form in the Prem. I think King and Wilson, I mean, for a long time, I mean, I think a bit of respect needs to be put on their name, really. I mean, both of them are really good Premier League strikers. Yeah,
they are. Callum Wilson especially, because English talents, obviously they're not going to get overshined by the likes of Sterling and Kane in the Premier League. I think if they were from a different country, I reckon they would have a lot more, like Timu Pukki.
Yeah.
I reckon they would have a lot more recognition to be like, oh, these guys from, I don't know, Spain or Portugal.
Yeah.
They would be put up, highly.
Put higher on the pedestal, maybe.
Definitely.
Going on again, you've got Wolves beating Watford 2-0.
Yes, Wolves have started to pick up their good form.
Yeah.
Finally
kind of re-emerged themselves, but again, in terms of possession, they had the less possession.
Oh yeah, Watford dominated
61,
the game,
61%.
But obviously they lose by 2. It's unfortunate. Obviously, Doherty came in and scored the opener.
Yeah, and
it took until the 61st for Wolves to just get an own goal.
So Darragh Janmaat.
Yeah, Janmaat coming in and deflecting. So Watford had the game. It just shows with because Wolves had 27 clearances.
Yeah, they
had to clear the ball 27 times from their half.
They're an extremely unpredictable team. I mean, again, a lot of people say, I mean, against the top 6, they always turn up. Against the lower teams, that's where they struggle.
But I guess this was their week. I mean, they had to deflect 14 shots from the Watford strikers of Andre Gray.
Yeah.
Anyways, shall we hit the next game?
Yeah, moving on to Tottenham-Southampton. A 2-1 win for Tottenham. Again, not the best outing from Tottenham again.
A 10-man Spurs clawback against Southampton. Lloris making the mistake for Danny Ings' goal after Ndombele put them 1-0 up.
Yeah.
Then you got Danny Ings. Lloris was trying to do too much with the ball.
He has a tendency to do that sometimes.
He did it in the World Cup.
Yeah,
didn't he? For the only goal of the opposition.
Yeah,
for Croatia, he was the mistake for that goal, and again, it almost cost Tottenham this game. If it wasn't for Harry Kane, they might have it might have been a draw.
Yeah. They finished on less possession. Southampton having 59%, Tottenham averaging around 41% possession.
Tottenham were on the back foot the entire game. Less shots as well. But obviously man of the match, being Harry Kane.
Yeah.
And
the Sergio Aurier red card as well. I mean, it's a shame. I mean, I personally think he's a good right back. I feel like sometimes he just has a tendency to lose his head a bit.
There's a debate. Do you think the ball went out of play? I looking back, I don't think it would have been, because the linesman was looking up the touchline.
Yeah.
I don't think his focus would have been anywhere else. I think the red card should have stood, because it was a yellow card, and if Aurier didn't get that previous yellow card, he would not have been sent off.
It was a real kind of like nail biting moment, but I think I'd agree with you on that one, mate.
100%.
Moving away from Tottenham, Southampton, a win for Chelsea, nice little 2-0 win against Brighton.
Mason Mount showing his worth again. He continues to impress Chelsea. Chelsea fans. It's really hard to win over those Chelsea fans. if you're not bought in for 50 million.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of hype around you. I'm guessing there would have been a bit of hype from last season being at Derby under Frank Lampard.
Yeah.
And Mason Mount, he continues to shine and show his worth. Jorginho getting the goal in the 50th minute with a penalty.
So I remember that it's interesting that he took the penalty, because I remember Lampard saying, I don't know if it was the week or the week before, saying that Ross Barkley was the penalty taker.
I don't know. I've always seen Jorginho as a penalty taker.
I've seen Jorginho as well, because remember Ross Barkley stepped up and obviously Ross Barkley missed the penalty.
Yes.
And then I remember Frank at the end of the game saying we trust Ross as a penalty taker, and then company see Jorginho there, maybe a bit of trouble in paradise maybe.
But yeah, and then Willian scoring in the 76th minute to seal the brace for Chelsea.
Just putting the game to bed there. Going on to Manchester City, 3-1 win over Everton.
Yes, and
again looked fairly comfortable again. That goal from Calvert-Lewin just disrupting that, but it looked like typical Man City.
I mean, it was going to be Seamus Coleman until Calvert-Lewin ensured it went in, but Manchester City continued to dominate. I mean, they could have had more. They genuinely could have had more. They had 20 shots, roughly 63% possession on the game, and Edison as well, having an absolutely class game. He made 3 world-class saves in this game alone, as well as Sterling. He missed that sitter.
I'd probably say right now Edison probably second best keeper in the league behind Alisson. I'd say at the moment
100%. I'd say it's Alisson, then you got Edison in second, and you probably have to maybe David De Gea.
I'd give it to De Gea, and then De Gea or Lloris, and then they're kind of both of them there at the moment. But both keepers needing a bit of a step up right now. Then going on, just quickly talking about Monday's result. Manchester United Arsenal 1-1. I went to go watch this game with a few friends, and my God, what a goal from Scott McTominay! What a
I'll
goal!
allow you to talk about this in length.
Oh mate, it was absolutely amazing to see. I mean, I do think McTominay is a really good player. I think if he had the players around him to progress him and have the natural talent around him, obviously Pogba looked really lively in that game. It was a straight kind of 50-50. I mean, we had some players who just looked like they were up to the crack, and we had some players who just didn't look like they were just cutting it about in that game. But then obviously Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang doing what he does best.
Yeah, absolutely. He's too quick for the offside trap that Maguire was trying to set.
Just too fast.
He was brilliant this game.
What was that linesman thinking? Honestly, when they first called it, I was initially thinking,
I think a lot of people watching the game was like, okay, that's offside.
But then you saw the replays, and it was just evidently clear.
Yeah, the linesman was way out of position for the call. He was obviously diagonal to Maguire at the time.
Yeah.
And then obviously Aubameyang looked offside to him. Maybe he had to just make a split-second call, which they took to VAR.
The arguments about VAR being good, VAR being bad, but if it wasn't there in that situation, you would have had a lot of unhappy Arsenal fans.
Absolutely. Arsenal fan TV would have been livid.
It would have been a very good watch.
It would have been a very entertaining to see the livid Arsenal fans.
Again, in that game as well, couldn't help but notice I have to say, poor performance from Pepe.
Yeah, Pepe continues to underperform as a player. Not quite showing his price tag at the minute.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming that's just the adapting to the way that the Premier League is.
Yeah.
He's come from a league that's not very dominant by many teams and is not as unpredictable.
Yeah, it's a weird kind of predicament he finds himself in. But as the results roll on, the only goal coming from that penalty, it's looking a bit worrying for him. On the opposition, obviously, again you had struggling with Rashford. I said it last week, mate. The goals, I just don't see where they're coming from right now.
Yeah, no. Other than Aubameyang, they don't really have an out-and-out goal scorer that can step up. Obviously, Pepe is still adapting to the Premier League. Obviously, not quite adapting as quickly as, say, a Fabinho did. Obviously, 2 different positions, so it's quite easy to see why. Both coming from the same league as well.
Yeah.
But Pepe is still one of those players that still has room to grow and time to flourish under this and the great manager. Unai Emery he's a fantastic manager, and I'm sure that Pepe's form will soon just shoot up.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how as weeks come on. Moving on to the last game to talk about, which is the team that we're going to be talking about in great length, was Leicester's 5-0 win over Newcastle. So we were interested in this result, so we wanted to talk a bit more in depth about Leicester today. But in all, Reece, what a game.
Leicester ran roughshod over Newcastle United, which did not do well for my predictions. I predicted 5 goals. I just thought it'd be split.
Yeah.
Pereira opening the scoring, and then from there Newcastle they couldn't get the ball out of the half. They didn't have a single shot on target.
It's not good, is it?
No. 68% possession towards Leicester.
Yeah, a Vardy double in the 54th and then the 64th. But then also, in the 57th minute, you had the Paul Dummett own goal.
Own goal, yeah.
Just kind of set the kind of pace
As
of the
a
game.
defender, it happens. It's a deflection of sorts. You're trying to stop the ball. It just obviously wasn't the day for Paul Dummett. And then you got Ndidi with the 90th minute goal.
I genuinely believe that Wilfred Ndidi is a world-class player. I think he is excellent.
He is fantastic. He's a great player. He can run the pitch for days. He's like an N'Golo Kante-esque player. He loves doing the dirty work of the Leicester side, and also loves getting up and scoring a few goals now and again.
Yeah.
He did it against Wolves last season.
Yeah. Just an absolute workhorse, man.
And so Leicester had 5 shots on target, and 5-0 it was. So the shots that it just shows if you put the ball on target, it's going to go in.
Yeah. Some Michael Owen comment right there.
Thank you.
In the 43rd minute as well, that red card from Isaac Hayden. That was again just not the best. I a red card can set so much of the tone for the rest of the game.
Absolutely, I think that red card was the start of the downfall.
Yeah,
by that point, team.
Already 1-0 down. So it was just going to be a slow decline from
absolutely. But yeah, those are this week's results. This week, the hype train, we've just pulled into the station, and we have 4 new players to offer for you, all by some last week's listeners. So the first player that is going to be mentioned, we're going to split this up a little bit because there's 3 players from the exact same team, and it's probably going to go in the exact same category. The first one is Mason Greenwood. Let's just say prospect now, because he's too young to...
He's young right now. It's his 18th birthday today, so happy birthday, Mason Greenwood. Again, I feel like recently, seeing these constant Premier League outings for him, it's been great to see. Worrying in the long term for United that we're relying on him so early. We did it with Rashford a while ago, so you never know. But it's good to see.
Forces him to be put into that limelight for him to mature.
Exactly.
Maybe that was the wrong thing for Rashford to have done happen to him.
Yeah.
Because obviously, look at him now; he's not flourishing as well, and he's been affected by constant managerial changes.
Definitely.
Where if that happens to Greenwood, and a new manager comes in, would Greenwood get the exact same amount of game time? I'm not sure.
It's interesting you say. It's worrying. Obviously, Ollie's put some trust in him.
Yeah,
which
absolutely.
is, you do really love to see it, but it's a worry. Like you mentioned, the constant managerial changes. I'm scared the next person to come in with a whole new philosophy and a whole new method of playing football. We've had so many of these, and it's just running the players ragged.
Absolutely.
The players aren't without their own faults as well, but the constant changes, it just does make it a bit of an uphill battle. But yeah. I think we can both confidently agree he's definitely in the prospect category.
I think, to be fair, talking about prospects, I think we'll just link both of these players together and have a discussion on both of these players, Angel Gomez and Tahith Chong.
Yeah. Again,
both really young.
2 players, again, all 3 of these coming up through the United Academy, which again, really good to see. Everyone likes to see some kind of homegrown academy talent being put through. Gomez and Greenwood, both English players. Chong representing the Netherlands at international level. And again, seeing them week in, week out on the bench, coming off, getting the odd few minutes, it is really good to see. I'd say for United's sake, I mean, I don't know if it's a bit of a smokescreen in the fact that we have nothing else, so we are using our academy prospects a lot more.
I'd say these three prospects, maybe there is a different branching class between two of them compared to Chong. Obviously, Angel and Mason Greenwood, I believe, have a higher ceiling than Tahith.
Okay.
But obviously, Chong can prove us wrong and hit that heights that he's bound to hit. But
I'd say, I mean, from what I've seen of them, I think I'd say Gomez and Chong. In my opinion, I think they're at quite a similar level.
Yeah.
Chong obviously, but predominantly gone out on that right wing.
Absolutely.
And then, moving around the pitch, very quick, very technical. I feel like he's not as kind of physical a player as I think he could be. I feel like that's something which will progress with his game and just kind of like more outings. Possibly a loan move may be the best thing for him right now. I would say Greenwood is going to remain a staple in the United team for the foreseeable for now, unless obviously more players get bought in January, which again is a huge question mark. But for Greenwood, Gomez and Chong, I mean, all without a doubt prospects.
Yeah,
without
absolutely.
a doubt.
And then the last player that we have is Jordan Henderson.
Jordan Henderson.
Now, I love Jordan Henderson. For a long time I didn't, because I always thought, what does Henderson do? And then I know you said before that one of your mates has said this, and you actually have to watch him individually in the games to see what he does.
I've got a lot of Liverpool friends who do like to point that out whenever I make a Henderson comment.
He's a good player. He does a lot for the team. He's more of a backstage leader than an on the pitch commanding midfielder. I think out of anyone in the midfield three, Henderson's the easiest one to replace, but he's the easiest one to put on the bench and help Jurgen Klopp with these young players that are coming in and to nurture them with James Milner.
I would agree with that. I mean, I have no doubt in my mind that he is a great character to have around.
Absolutely.
I feel like his dedication to the team. You'd have to be an idiot not to look and see that this man is dedicated.
Absolutely.
I mean, you see the passion he emits. You see him lifting that Champions League trophy, which was so hard to watch. But you see the passion he emits, and I have no doubt in my mind that he is genuinely like a really good figurehead around that Liverpool kind of dressing room.
Absolutely, yeah.
You mentioned him being the most replaceable. I would have to agree there. I feel like the overall standard of the Liverpool team, it gets progressively more difficult not to call a lot of those players world class.
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, obviously the fullback's brilliant. Van Dijk goes without saying, currently the best defender in the world. Yeah. Alisson had an absolute blinder last season, a great goalkeeper. Obviously out injured right now, but still an amazing keeper.
Front three
against goes without saying. Fabinho,
Gini Wijnaldum.
Yeah, Gini Wijnaldum comes in, does a good job.
Week. I reckon if Naby Keita gets into his form, potentially can come in and do a shift, but I'm guessing he still has some growing and some demons to overcome.
Personally, what I would say is that, in my opinion, the Liverpool captain is Van Dijk. It just is. I feel like I know he's only still fairly recent to the team. Everyone forgets. I mean, he's playing like he's been part of that team for years.
Yes,
he gelled in so well. But I mean, he's still a relatively newish player to the team, but the commanding presence. I mean, he barks an order. I mean, you'd have to be silly not to follow it.
Yeah, exactly. He is a natural born leader.
And although Henderson is again, like you said, a great character to have around, I personally feel like to take Liverpool to that next level, I feel like if Henderson was replaced and Van Dijk was made the captain, I feel like then you would become a European superpower, dominant, a ridiculous team. Yeah. But I mean, all in all, I mean, I personally would put Henderson in the average category. I'm not gonna obviously rinse the player. I mean, I'm not gonna go into too much, but I feel like he's an average player personally.
I hate to do this, but I'm probably gonna, because obviously with the lack of carriages available, I would probably have to say that absolutely, yeah. I can't quite put him in the world class section, especially as we have Leroy Sané in there right now.
Yeah.
So, sorry, Jordan, you're gonna have to go in the average. But as a Liverpool fan, I love everything that he does. He's a class player. He runs around. He puts his body on the line for the ball. But I mean, yeah, he's a Champions League lifting captain.
Yeah, you can't deny him that. He is that.
He's amongst legends of football. So, but again, he's not at the age where he can be called world class. I don't think. I think he's slightly getting on, and also
I just don't think he's going to progress to full. I think what we're seeing now, I think, is Jordan Henderson.
It's his best.
It's fine, but I mean, for me, it isn't good enough for that Liverpool team.
Absolutely. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this week's edition of the Hype Train, and please do fill in with your suggestions for next week's Hype Train, week 3, potentially a very big week for the average pundits. We will continue to plan, and also maybe a guest. Who knows? So, Joe, I think it's time for the big topic.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about Leicester City. I mean, obviously, every week you look for these big results, and it's going to be the most talked about game. I mean, you had Man United Arsenal, which obviously had the potential of being amazing, but unfortunately just didn't hit that top notch. So Leicester City is what we want to talk about a little bit today. All in all, Leicester City, I mean, on their progression into the Premier League and what they have done since then, it's been a wild ride for Leicester. Obviously, a club which has gone through an awful lot, winning the league.
Absolutely.
Obviously, the tragedy of losing club owner Vichai, obviously in the disaster. But I mean, you saw how the city united over the highs and the lows. It's a club which has an awful lot of backing behind it. So I mean, all in all, I mean, any Leicester fans out there, we'd love to hear your opinion on the direction of your club as well. So please always feel free to let us know on our social media platforms. Mm-hmm. But again, going through, I want to just briefly talk about last season for them. At 38 matches played, 15 wins, 16 losses, and the rest making up the draws. I mean, not a bad season.
No, not at all.
I mean, some good outings. Obviously, just looking to shore up those numbers and just limiting down on those losses.
Yeah.
A lot. I mean, 51 goals scored and 48 conceded. I mean, fairly.
It's an average sort of per game.
Yeah.
Conceding and I mean the goal difference at the end of the year.
Yeah. But I mean, what the direction I think they're going in right now. I mean, they've got an elite manager at the helm, and he is an elite manager. He is brilliant. I mean, people forget what he did at Liverpool. I mean, obviously there wasn't that end product. There wasn't that trophy.
No.
Which again is, I mean, after a while, I mean, it's the same kind of argument we're having with a lot of clubs at the moment, especially Tottenham, which again in weeks to come we'll go into a little bit more detail.
Absolutely, yeah.
You can do amazing things at a club and like with Pochettino, be an amazing manager. But at the end of the day, if those trophies don't start rolling in, questions are going to get asked.
Yes,
because it's no longer. You can hide behind small, mid-sized, large club status, but the trophies have got to roll in. For Leicester, I feel like at the moment they're teetering. They're just obviously outside the top 6.
Yes,
but they're knocking on the door. I mean, chasing those Uniteds, those Arsenals, Chelseas, they're really just banging on the door right
Leicester
now.
Leicester are part of like an elite group. Well, not an elite group, but like a group of teams that aren't quite there yet, but have the money, have the build, the youth to potentially just storm forward.
Yeah.
I mean, they have done that. They have stormed forward and they won the Premier League with Riyad Mahrez, with Jamie Vardy, Shinji Okazaki, N'Golo Kante. All these players that Mark Albrighton is a Premier League winner.
Yeah, he is.
Let's run through that.
Yeah.
It was a fantastic season for all Leicester. I mean, all fans that weren't Manchester City fans.
Yeah, pretty much. It was just great.
It was brilliant. I loved seeing them win.
It's the fairy tale story, wasn't it? I mean, amazing stuff.
And they can do it again. I think they can. It's just if they invest correctly. It's like Wolves, it's like Aston Villa, because I think Aston Villa have the talent. They just need a few more missing pieces.
I feel like, I mean, obviously, I mean, again, that legendary season. The season after that, Leicester actually finished 12th. Then
Yeah,
going
they dropped right back down again.
Going on again, finishing 9th. Then going on a further again, finishing 9th again. At the moment, they currently sit 3rd in the league. I mean, obviously, extremely early days. Obviously, it's really way too close to predict anything.
Yeah, I mean, they have 4 wins from 7. They are a couple points off the top, obviously.
13 goals scored.
7 points off the top. They have scored. Yeah, they have scored way more. They've scored over double what they've conceded.
Yeah.
Which is good. They have an average of almost 2 goals per game. Obviously, probably more coming from this Newcastle. It's still early days.
Yeah.
For this team. I don't think they will finish inside the top 4 this year, but I do see them being in Europe next year.
I think they've got a Europa League spot in them. Yeah. I really do.
I think they have the spot I thought Wolves were going to get this year.
It just seems where Wolves didn't hit the ground running, Leicester seized it.
Yeah, Leicester have jumped on this with their new summer signings. Obviously, they brought in Tielemans, who has been the commanding person in that Leicester side. He is a brilliant player.
Obviously, they're having him on loan last season and then just securing that deal.
Yep.
Again, extremely frustrating to see. I mean, every big club must have just kind of had their eyes closed.
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, what a player.
He's absolutely fantastic. I mean, I've always seen him as a very big potential player from Monaco, and he just continues to grow and mature in his central midfield position, and that is something that you definitely want to see from a central midfielder. He
was turning heads back when he was at Anderlecht.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
He was turning a lot of heads. I mean, Monaco again saw the opportunity no one else did, signed him, and Leicester have done the same thing again.
Yeah, exactly. They've seized the opportunity and they brought in a very young but mature player.
I mean, I look at that Leicester team and I see so many players which, again, I hate to admit, but are just way better than the stuff I have at my club currently.
Yes.
And there are just a lot of players in there which I would quite happily take. I mean, obviously, the jewel in the crown from last season, which we did manage to get our hands on, was Harry Maguire. Absolutely, and again, I'm very happy with the appointment. I feel like it's difficult right now. He needs the players around him at United. But fair play to Leicester. I mean, they're looking okay without him right now.
Exactly, yeah. They don't actually really need him because they have players that are stepping up. They brought in Johnny Evans.
Johnny Evans, obviously he's been at the club for quite a while now, but I mean, nothing wrong with Johnny Evans. I mean, he's a perfectly good player.
Centre back that I really do not want to try and pronounce the name of.
I know who you're thinking of.
But he also has stepped up this season, and he has been.
It's Soyuncu, isn't it? Yeah.
If that's his name, please. I'm not going to try and pronounce his name.
He is looking like a really good player.
Yeah. All he needed was the departure of Maguire and a chance to shine to actually be a staple in this Leicester side.
Sometimes that's what you need. You need the big departure to kind of show what else you've got.
I mean, you've got other players that have also stepped up. James Maddison has become an unreal player, as we mentioned last week. He's incredible.
He's becoming a household name, really. I mean, every week in, week out, he's getting mentioned. Won't be long before we start seeing a regular Maddison spots in the England squad, I can't lie.
100%. He is an absolutely fantastic player. Him and Tielemans in the middle.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic.
I mean, you are looking at this at Leicester as well. Obviously, it took 80 million, roughly around 80 million, to get Maguire out of Leicester.
Yes.
I'm looking at some of these other players. I mean, what's it going to take to get Tielemans, Maddison, Wilfred and Ndidi to get out of this club? I mean, it's going to take up 60+ million for most of these players.
I mean, they're all young as well.
Yeah.
You got Tielemans, who's 22, and he came for 40 million.
Yeah.
By the time he's 25, by the time he's ready to be that world class player, he's going to be, I don't know, 60, 70, maybe 80 million.
It's interesting to see with Leicester because, I mean, they're in a position right now where they're a club which they do not need to sell.
No, they are not.
You look at historic selling clubs in the past. I mean, a lot of talent back in the day coming through the Southampton ranks.
Yeah.
But when the offers came in, Southampton were more than willing to sell for the right price. But right now, I mean, Leicester City, I mean, you saw they were obviously reluctant to sell Maguire, but they wanted to make sure they got a good price for him. And they did. I mean, they did get a good price for him. So right now, it is a brilliant position for a club to be in, especially of Leicester's kind of size and calibre. Because, I mean, if they don't have to sell players, I mean, all they can do is improve.
Absolutely. And with the young side that they have, instead of selling, and they can rebuild for a season and also contend.
Just keep nurturing the talent.
Yeah, because with the departure of players like N'Golo Kante, Riyad Mahrez, and soon potentially Jamie Vardy, they have to create this new wave of players.
I don't know about Vardy. I mean, I think he probably is going to stay, I reckon. I mean,
think
he's getting on.
I do actually think Jamie Vardy within the next 3 or 4 years will be at Sheffield United.
That would be a very poetic end.
Yeah, because he's a lifelong Sheffield United fan. He's a Sheffield boy. I think he wants to end his career for the team that he grew up supporting, rather than the team that can win him the most trophies. I think he's that type of player.
Would be good. Again, would be good to see. He does come across as quite a sentimental.
He's kind of hitting the apex at the minute.
Yeah.
To the point where he's about to dip off. I mean, he's still quick. Yeah. Vardy's still got very, very quick legs, but there's only a matter of time before he starts slowing down.
Yeah. What did you make of the signing of Ayoze Perez?
I thought it was a weird one at the time.
Especially
for 30 million.
I'm struggling to put my finger on it and kind of see what I feel.
But I think it's more of they saw Newcastle as someone who was about to get. Well, the rumours were they were about to get taken over. So get the good players out of Newcastle while you can. And I know that a lot of clubs were trying to go for Lascelles.
Yeah.
They were trying to go for Ayoze Perez. Obviously, the takeover didn't happen, and now Newcastle are left with no striker.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they got Yollington, but obviously...
Yeah, the big money sign with Yollington, but I mean, again, it'll take a bit of time for him to fully kind of find his legs. But I mean, Perez, I mean, a Premier League experienced striker, you know, he's been knocking around the Premier League for a while now. 26 years old. So, I mean, for a long time, I feel like, again, he was a young player for quite a while. He had that young player status, so it kind of was a bit like, okay, we'll see what the young player's going to do this week, see what he's going to do this week. But now hitting kind of his kind of peak years, going into like the kind of highlights of his career, I feel like it was just a weird move for Leicester. I mean, personally, without being too harsh on him, I don't rate him particularly highly. I feel like that Leicester could have done a lot better with the signing.
He's not bad, but I mean, he's made 6 appearances, and 70% of those appearances have been in the starting 11. He's scored no goals. He's got no assists, no goal contributions whatsoever. And it's really strange to see why they made this move and why they continue to play him.
Because, I mean, Vardy's scoring.
Vardy is the one scoring, yes.
Is a 30 million for a backup striker warranted? I mean, for a club of Leicester's size? I mean, obviously, like we said, a club teetering on... I mean, they've got the money, they've got talent in there, but 30 million for your backup striker, I don't know.
I don't think it's completely worth it, to be honest.
Yeah.
You get a player like Perez in when you've already got Vardy up front. Obviously, you need another player, obviously, if Jamie Vardy does move on. But then invest it in a younger, more brighter player, maybe like a Breel Mbolo, or someone that can help them grow.
I feel like I understood the signs behind it. I mean, you look at him, you think, oh, Premier League proven player at a club which you're probably in a position quite willing to sell. I mean, a lot of the stuff made sense, but I just, again, it's just not a signing which I particularly rated.
The attacking of Leicester City obviously is always a threat. I mean, every time Liverpool go up against Leicester, I actually do fear Jamie Vardy. He does score a lot of goals. He can get behind our defence, and he's proven that on time and time again.
Yeah.
You've also Demarai Gray, young player, got a lot of promise. I mean, even standard players like Mark Albrighton.
They come and do a job, don't they?
Yeah. And then they got Pratt as well.
Yeah, Dennis Pratt, they signed him again from Anderlecht, linking up with former teammate Tielemans and international teammate.
Yeah.
again, a good midfield player. I mean, a lot of hype was kind of mentioned around when they were signing him. I remember it was deadline day. They picked him up on, and there were a lot of rumours going about it. All the journalists kind of going crazy. I mean, Fabrizio on Twitter, I remember, was active that day, kind of like putting all of his kind of feelers out. But the move was confirmed. An interesting signing again. It just only bolsters Leicester's midfield. It only makes them better.
Absolutely.
I think it was like 25 million. So I mean, for a player who's been performing at quite a high level in the Belgian league for a while, I mean, fair, why not?
And then also, I mean, backup strikers. They have Kelechi Iheanacho.
They do have Iheanacho.
Who I think has been a forgotten player in all of this.
He's I was gonna say, you could forget he's still there.
Yep.
I mean,
he's not made the impact that everyone thought he would.
At Manchester City, he was looking like I couldn't believe when Manchester City sold him. Couldn't believe it. Yeah. I mean, obviously Gabriel Jesus came into the club, but I could not believe it. Because I mean, there's just this great young player. I mean, you just kind of let him go. I thought Leicester had a steal.
Yeah, I mean, he was swooped up by by Leicester.
Yeah.
Because obviously he was doomed to stay at Man City. He wasn't Man City player. He's tall. He's got a bit of speed, and obviously Man City strikers. They've been, the Jesus's, your Agueros, and potentially even like a Sterling.
Yeah.
Or a Sane, like a small, quick player.
Small, quick, physical, good on the ball.
And Iheanacho obviously went to Leicester to try and prove himself, to prove that he is that caliber player, that he deserves a top team to come for him, and he didn't really, prove anyone, that he meant business.
Well, I mean, as we mentioned before, I mean, right now Leicester as a club in general are knocking on that door of finishing within the top 4, yes. Top 6. So I'd say, it genuinely wouldn't surprise me to see Leicester even finish higher than Manchester United, maybe Arsenal. I mean, it'll be a very interesting season. It'll be a club which, without a doubt, you need to keep your eyes on. Because again, a club on the rise. They've done it before. I mean, they had the miracle season, but it would be amazing to see them get some more kind of trophies at the club, which they're not. It's not a miracle season. It's just genuine, good in and week out performances.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I feel like they're close to doing that.
Yeah, they are. I think they're a few little pieces away from definitely challenging that top 4 position. I'd say the inclusion of Johnny Evans might have been a bit of a panic buy. I don't think he's quite Premier League top 4-esque players. Yeah. However, he's a good fill-in for this season. Calgar. That's his first name for that centre back that I'm not going to try and pronounce the name of. He's a good player. They've got very good wing backs in Ben Chilwell and Ricardo Pereira.
Both of those two, again, some of the best fullbacks in the league.
Ricardo Pereira is absolutely phenomenal. He's
brilliant
rapid.
Player.
He's great with interceptions. He's strong on the ball. He's got a good tackle on him, and he could be one of the cornerstones for this Leicester team moving forward, along with Yuri Tillemans.
Yeah.
And maybe Wilfred Ndidi as well.
They've got a serious test next week, Leicester. They've got a serious test.
Indeed.
So against Liverpool on the Saturday, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, Liverpool go into the game the favourites.
Yeah, it's at Anfield.
I mean, that again, with that only puts them in a higher position. But I mean, that game against Sheffield, again, there were a lot of questions there to be asked. Yeah. So who knows? Leicester might be able to maybe go there and get some kind of result.
On this string of form that Liverpool are in, I'm not too sure. However, Leicester are also in that string of form too. This is the first time we have faced someone, at the minute, that are currently trying to get into the Champions League spots, as Leicester are having these past 7 games. But I still think they are missing those little pieces.
Yeah.
That aren't quite on our calibre. Liverpool, obviously, we've got a phenomenal front 3 that can tear apart Johnny Evans. And, Chilwell, I don't think he's got quite the experience that might be needed, or the actual raw talent. He's a great player. I'd still pretty much put him in at an average if we were to put him in a carriage. But
right now, I'd probably say he's our best left back for England. I'd say Chilwell's probably currently the best left back. I'd say Chilwell probably short second. But I mean, I feel like his experience thing is only gonna come more into his game.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, he's still fairly young.
But I mean, I think already just looking like a great player. But
yeah,
I mean that'll be definitely a result to keep your eyes out for. But I mean, yeah. I mean, all in all, I mean, I think Leicester are definitely a club on the rise.
Absolutely. And then we'll just see what if they can replicate this season, where they did win the Premier League. And then we just look forward and sit back and watch, really. I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do this season. And I'm sure all of you listening will actually be interested as well, especially if we've got some Leicester fans listening. But yeah, that's about wraps it up for this week. A bit of a shorter episode. However, it's been an enjoyable one, talking about Leicester City and whether they can actually get to the top again.
Yeah.
But I think the verdict on that is they can, but they're amongst a group where they all can. They all can make that leap.
It's just kind of the allure of the top flight of the Premier League. I mean, it's always interesting.
Absolutely.
But then again, we move on. Should we do a few predictions for next week?
Indeed. We shall do the predictions.
First one I'm thinking, Tottenham-Brighton.
Tottenham versus Brighton.
I reckon that's going to be a Tottenham win. But again, this kind of run of form, they've been in a bit lackluster. I think it might be another scrape unless obviously Pochettino can kind of hammer a few kind of lessons in the dressing room. But I'm going to put a 2-1 win on Tottenham for that one.
I am going to, if it wasn't for Lloris this week, they would not have conceded, and I would have got the prediction right. So I'd say Spurs 2, Brighton 0.
Spurs 2, Brighton 0. Okay. Aston Villa Norwich.
Aston Villa are a good team, but obviously they've got Norwich a good team with Pukki.
Yeah, both newly promoted. So this is correct me if I'm wrong. Is this the first time two newly promoted sides have met each other yet?
I believe, yeah, potentially.
I believe so. Well, I mean that's going to be an interesting little run out. I mean, obviously, again, two clubs who've had really good results at the start of the season. I feel like this is going to be a draw.
I also do think that it will be a draw.
I'm going to put 2-2 on it.
2-2. I was going to do that, but then I was like, no, I think I have McGinn and maybe Pukki or someone within the ranks of Norwich to score. So I'm gonna say 1-1.
1-1 on that one. Watford Sheffield.
Watford, I do see as potentially going down. They are candidates for the relegation zone. Sheffield United played out of their skin this week.
They did.
And I'm going to put them to win, I'd say 2-0.
2-0 to Sheffield. Tell you what, to make things a bit interesting, I'm going to go on the other end. I'm going to say Watford.
Really?
Try and get a result there. I'm going to say a 1-0 Watford win.
Okay.
Burnley Everton.
Burnley, again, they came off a reasonably good weekend. Everton not so. The only positive they can really draw from is their only goal from Calvert-Lewin.
Yeah. Again, it's just looking more and more worrying for Everton right now. I feel like against Burnley, maybe that's a club maybe at their kind of level. Maybe they might be able to get something from it.
Yeah. I don't see any goals coming from this game.
Do you think it's going to be a 0-0?
Yeah.
I'd. You know what? No, I'm gonna say it's a draw again. I'm gonna say 1-1.
Okay.
I'm gonna say a 1-1 draw for that one. The big game of Liverpool-Leicester, arguably the best game that we're gonna see that weekend.
Yeah, it's a very good weekend for that game. Liverpool. I think we're in a run where I don't think we're about to get beat anytime soon. Even with Adrian in goal, we're only going to get stronger when Alisson comes back. We've got so much depth. I'm not sure.
Can't see a loss there.
No, I can't see it. No, I'm gonna say. I mean, I said that last week about Sheffield, but I think it's going to be 2-0.
2-0. I mean,
to Liverpool.
Personally, for that one, I'm gonna put 3-1 Liverpool on it.
Okay.
I think Leicester are definitely going to get a goal.
Oh, okay.
But I'm gonna put 3-1.
Brilliant.
West Ham Palace. Two clubs again in good form.
With Crystal Palace's run of form at the minute, I don't know whether they can keep it up.
Okay.
West Ham have the talent to actually keep up. You got Crystal Palace, obviously they've got Zaha, Jeffrey Schlupp, Milivojevic. They've got Van Aanholt, who's been playing really well, and their goalkeeper Guaita.
Yeah.
But then obviously West Ham have made all these really good signings. Allaire. They've got a really good strike force. They've got obviously Yarmolenko.
Yeah.
Felipe Anderson, Fredrickson, and Cresswell in defence. Diop. Fabianski's impressed a lot as well.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting game. Two clubs, again, at a similar level right now. If you had to pick one to kind of edge them...
I think it's going to have to be a 1-0 to West Ham United.
1-0 to West Ham. Okay, I mean... I'm also going to say a West Ham win. I'm going to say 2-1. Okay. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think 2-1. I think it will be a late goal which decides it for the Hammers, but, I'm going to give it to West Ham.
Cool.
Southampton-Chelsea. Southampton... just, again, a team recently just not been cutting it.
No, I think Chelsea have actually started to show the form that we all didn't think they'd actually quite pick up.
Yeah.
They are doing rather well against the small teams.
Yeah.
And I would put Southampton in a relegation candidate type of position.
I think I'd agree with that.
And especially with Mason Mount. They've got Willian still. Tammy Abraham still performing.
Based on some of these outings, I mean, I'm going to put 4-0 Chelsea down.
I am going to put, because Southampton do have a tendency to score goals, I'm going to put 3-1 to Chelsea.
3-1. Man City Wolves, again, another candidate for game of the weekend. You obviously got Liverpool, Leicester City, and then Man City Wolves. What a game that's going to be, potentially, because Wolves, like we mentioned earlier, against the top six, they have a tendency to come out the cage a bit more.
Manchester City do have a problem with dealing with Wolves. I mean, with Wolves' formation, they tend to put 5 at the back. And Man City, I can see finding it hard to break down that Wolves defence.
It would be interesting to see in the mind of Pep this week to kind of think about, to get in his head and see what they're going to do this week to try and counteract that threat from Wolves.
I believe it's going to be the week of the Wolves. I think Diogo and Jimenez are gonna come through. I reckon they're gonna win 2-1. I'm predicting they're gonna win 2-1.
Okay.
Because of the breaking down of the 5-man defence that Wolves have.
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna be very easy.
I'm actually gonna put that down as a 1-0 win to City. I think this is gonna be a tough game, and like you said, breaking down that defence, that's gonna be the difficulty there. So I'm gonna say City are gonna do it just because of the calibre of the team. But it's going to be 1-0. It's not going to be pretty football being played.
No,
but it's going
absolutely.
It's going to be an interesting watch.
They're going to have to fight for that win.
Definitely. Arsenal-Bournemouth. Arsenal coming off the back of the draw with United. Bournemouth coming off the back of a win.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, Stan Crow said it was a draw.
It was a draw,
a draw. So, both clubs coming off the back of draws. I mean, that's going to be an interesting outing.
Arsenal, I think, carry the more momentum, being a big club. Ish club of Man United. But I think the raw dominance of Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is going to show. Hopefully Nicola Pepe can start showing a run of form. We're only 7 games in.
Yeah.
There is time for him.
Obviously the Premier League fans are very unrelenting, so I mean, for his sake, I mean, a goal against Bournemouth would do brilliantly for him.
I think this might be another sort of high-scoring game. I've gone 3-2 to Arsenal.
3-2 to Arsenal.
Because obviously with Bournemouth, I've got Callum Wilson, who doesn't stop scoring. And players like Ryan Fraser, Harry Wilson, Solanke, and Lerma. All of them are willing to get on the goal sheet.
I feel like that Arsenal defence is going to be what lets them down in this game. So
exactly.
Again, I think I'd take your bet saying a high scoring. I'm going to put 3-1 on it.
Okay.
I'm going to say Arsenal are going to be a bit more of a dominant side, but it's going to be hard to deny Wilson or King and getting a goal. And then finally, the last game of the weekend, Manchester United versus Newcastle.
Now, I did this last week. I went with heart over mind with Newcastle.
Yeah. I feel like the recent results of United, I mean, a win has to come. Otherwise, it really is just the end of days.
Indeed.
So, I mean, straight away, I'm putting 2-0 United on this one because not because I have to.
Yeah.
I have to start seeing that these guys turn up. I mean, it's getting frustrating.
I can't not see it going the way of United. David, Shane, if you're watching, I'm sorry. It's going to have to be Man United 2, Newcastle 0.
There we go then. There we go. So that is the predictions for next week.
Indeed. Thank you very much for listening to today's podcast. If you've got any suggestions for the hype train, or if you are a supporter of a club in the Premier League, feel free to let us know and we could potentially get you on the show. And yeah, hopefully you enjoy. Have a great week. Enjoy the weekend of football. It's going to be a good one. Keep up to your predictions. Let us know what you think is going to happen. And yeah, I have been Reese.
Yeah, and I've been Joe.
And yeah, we shall see you next week.